think of the British royal family, people of course think of the two people that created a bit of a scandal way back in the 1930s. And it's the one that everybody literally looks back to because it was such a huge sensation. We're talking Edward and Mrs. Simpson. And as I said to you recently, it's funny, isn't it? It didn't matter what happened, people still referred to her as Mrs. Simpson, even though she'd obviously married and could have been referred to as the Duchess of Windsor or indeed Wallis Windsor. But no, everybody just knew her as Mrs. Simpson because it stuck like that. That's the problem for Meghan Markle. You know, it's an easy name to roll off the tongue. And her real name, of course, is Rachel Meghan Markle. What's fascinating about this particular story that I wanted to share with you today, though, is one might suggest the late Queen Mother, Queen Elizabeth, well, was playing along with somebody who she knew was rather controversial herself. As ever, let me explain. Morning, nice to see you. Welcome, one and all brand new subscribers. Lovely to have your company in this glorious moment here in a beautiful United Kingdom sunshine. It's not bad, is it? Absolutely. Now, I tell you, when you think of scandals, as I said, it's a strange thing because, you know, people forget that the Queen Mother was completely irritated by Wallis Simpson and, as we know, refused even at the 11th hour really to have anything to do with her. Many suspect that she believed that her husband, King George's early demise was brought on by the extra stress. But I also think it's the fact that obviously he had a slight speech impediment and he struggled with it, and that became full of anxiety. He was a heavy smoker throughout of his life just to get through anxiety, and that was passed on, as we know, to his daughter Margaret Rose. The Queen never took up cigarette smoking, seeing what had happened to her father. She was very much against it. But Queen Elizabeth, you know, the Queen Mother, was, shall we say, not for want of letting go of certain arguments, if you get the drift. And one of the problems that she had was that she really didn't know exactly how to deal with Wallis Simpson, because Wallis to the American society was incredibly cruel and about the Queen Mother. So much so that when she recently, on a particular event, met the legendary entertainer Judy Garland backstage after seeing her for free alongside the Duke, well, she just wanted to talk about the royal family. What did she think to them? Now, Judy was a very much staunch royalist. She loved the British monarchy, appeared on Royal Variety performances and had performed privately at Windsor Castle. In fact, very early on in her career, the young princesses had gone to see Judy Garland at the world famous London Palladium. So she was very wise to keep out of this particular argument. But one person who created more controversy later on in her career was none other than the TV cook Fanny Cradock. Alongside her husband, Major Johnny, they were, well, a revelation on British television. In full evening attire, she would do full sort of meals, literally looking elegant, but barking orders at poor Johnny. He was terrified, right? But it all came tumbling down on a reality TV programme in the 70s, of which Fanny decided to, well, literally have a go at the contestant and say, oh no, you're with professionals now. And this put Fanny out in the wind, as it were, for many, many years. A few years later, she bumped back into Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, and they were having a conversation. And the Queen Mother asked her, do you think that the British way of cooking has changed in the last few years? And she said, no, not at all, not really. I think it's just the way it is. People change, but no, not really. The Queen Mother said, oh, I think it's all down to you. You've done a lot to revolutionise the way that we cook, eat, dine and make certain meals. Fanny was very much inspired by this. And apparently a conversation took place. And once again, what happened was the fact that Fanny could have been, shall we say, the moment to be, how can you put this nicely, thought of when she decided, literally out in the wilderness, to come up with her first novel book. The Windsor Secret, now out of print but still available if you can get copies on the internet. And this was all about really what had gone on, what people didn't know about, of course, Edward and Mrs. Simpson. But more importantly, her story went the different way. What would happen if they'd had a child? You can see exactly how controversial this would have been. Many people wondered exactly where did all that information come from. I'm not suggesting for one moment that this came from the late Queen Mother, but they were fast friends and she liked to tell people that at any opportunity, pop it up on chat shows to back it up. Where what's interesting though is that at the point of publishing, Wallis Simpson made sure to get the book bound. So Fanny had to wait a full year before she could actually release the book or face very heavy litigation from the estate of Wallis Simpson. And it just goes to show, as I've often said here on the show, chums, nothing is genuinely new. What happens is the people move, the story changes, but actually the actions of many just remain the same. The book did sell very well, but it did nothing to put Fanny Cradock back on the world stage of what she would have really liked to be known for was a wonderful cook with a very colourful personality and, more importantly, more fame and riches. Neil Sean in the very heart of Yorkshire.